Hello and welcome back to Business Class. I've got another solo ep for you today, and these are actually my favourite episodes to film, and that is listeners' dilemmas. I just love a listener's dilemma because I feel like when I first started my business, I wish there was someone to help me out with issues and like to also hear what other issues people had to make me feel like I wasn't going insane and that like I wasn't the only person dealing with such insane dilemmas. So I've got a load sent in that I have tried not to look at this time because I feel like when I was watching it last time, I didn't really seem too taken aback by the dilemmas because I'd already read them. And my first reaction was like, oh my God. And then when I had to read them out again, I didn't have that same passion. So I want to try and not read them. Takeoffs and departures this week. I would say my takeoff this week, it's so hard to do these because sometimes there'll be like quite personal things that I can't say on the podcast, but I've just booked to, basically I'm in my speaker era right now. So I've just got into speaking, motivational speaking, speaking about obviously going viral on social media. I've just booked in my first huge talk to do my keynote speech, which I've just finished writing. So very excited to do that. I'd say departure is, I don't know if it's a departure, but I still sometimes I'm a human. I let things get to me sometimes. So we are hiring at the minute for my 9th full-time employee, which is crazy. And whenever I put a hiring post out, I'll always get some people that have a problem with it, whether it's like, I've not listed enough about the job, I've listed too much, I'm expecting too much. Like there's always something. And I feel like I'm a lot better at not letting things get to me, but it still does. But I read it, I try to respond with kindness and love or not at all. But I would say that is probably the first time things have gotten to me in a good couple of months because I get comments all the time from people saying things. But I was just like frustrated because like I can't do anything right. Like I'm just trying to hire, I'm trying to give someone a job. And it just feels like you can't do anything right. But I think that is one of the negatives of having a personal brand and having I wouldn't say a follow, like a huge following online, but a following online. Like I have people who are constantly trying to pick me apart and find things that I'm doing wrong. But I have a team of people who approve everything I do. I know I'm doing everything right. So I think that is the most important thing for me that I have found with being a business owner, having a personal brand. There's always in the back of your head that anxiety of, oh my God, am I going to get cancelled? Are people going to find things wrong with my business? If you are so confident you are doing everything right, you're doing everything by the book, you're doing things ethically and morally right, there's nothing anyone can say that should get you cancelled, basically. And I have a lot of people around me to make sure I do everything right. So it's just backing what you say, being so solid in your values and aligned with your message that you back yourself. I'm trying to back myself a little bit more because I'm like, no, I know I'm doing things right. And I know that people are just saying that to get a rise out of me. But let's just be honest on the pod, about when things get to me. It's more disappointment. I feel like I would have cried about it a couple months ago, but now I'm just more like, oh my God, I can't please everyone. I already know that anyway. That's my dilemma anyway. Let's get into some of your dilemmas that you've got going on. Okay, so let's live react to these. I asked you guys on Instagram what you are dealing with at the minute. Anything, business related. I love hearing the juicy side of things. The juicier, the better. Okay, first one. Hi, Vicky. Hi, lovely lady. I love the pod and I look forward to listening every Monday on my morning dog walks. That is so cute. I'm a freelance web designer and I recently took on a client who seemed super excited about revamping their website. We agreed on a timeline, I sent them the contract and they paid a 50% deposit. I started the work, redesigned everything from scratch, sent them previews. Silence. Total ghost. After weeks of no response, I finally got an email saying they'd hired someone else. Been there, girl. No explanation. They refused to pay the rest and even had the nerve to ask for the files. I feel like I learned the hard way to not work without full payment, but would you have handled this any differently? Oh God, why can't people just be normal? I would say if this happened, first of all, you've got a contract. You said you've sent them a contract. I honestly would go down the small claims route if this was me. If I'd sent them the contract, they've signed it, go down small claims instantly is what I would have done. But yes, you have learned the hard way. Full payment needs to be made. I feel like it's still one of those things that people aren't 100% comfortable with, like asking for payment up front. I still work with some clients where we'll say we have to take payment up front, and they'll say, as a company, our policy is that we don't pay people up front. It'll be 50-50. What I've learned is if people want to work with you that badly, they will make it work. I have worked, like I said, where this exact instance has happened, and they've really pushed back on it and said, our company policy is to pay 50% up front. Like, we don't pay up front. That's really unusual. They made me feel really awkward for asking for the full amount. So I just said, no worries. And I'm very fortunate to be in this position, but I just said, no worries. We might not be the best company, like the best fit for you. And then lo and behold, they ended up paying us the full amount before we started working with them, because we set the standards. And I actually think that's a good thing to do before you start working with someone, because you are setting the standards and you're setting the tone of like, I can't be walked all over. This is my expectation and it needs to be met to work with us. So you've learnt the hard way, unfortunately. Go down small claims. That is the best advice I can give you on that. But it's just awful. I don't get why people do it. Next one is, hi Vicky, I'm a wedding photographer and I recently took a booking from a high profile influencer. She promised me massive exposure and said tagging me would be worth more than money. Against my better judgment, I took the job at a discounted rate. Not only did she delay payments for months, but she also filtered and cropped every photo beyond recognition and never tagged me. But she was on it with that Facetune. She even had the cheek to say, I should have been grateful for the opportunity. Never again am I working with influencers. How can I stop this from happening again? Good God. So I think, again, everything we go through teaches us a lesson. And I feel like now you will be hesitant to work with influencers anyway. I think influencers can be great, but they can also be awful. I've seen both sides of it. They're great because they've got a great following. It is great exposure for your business, but then also there are a few that are quite entitled and they think that, they don't see the value in working with a small business. So I think what I would have done is, again, contracts, have a contract written up. What I have learned the hard way is everything needs to be a contract. Everything, even if it's like something you're doing with your friend, even if it's like you might even be doing a service swap with someone, it might be a favor. The deliverables need to be outlined and there needs to be a contract signed so that you can take them to small claims court if something comes of it. And yeah, I just think contracts need to be the main thing for this one. I wouldn't say to let it put you off working with influencers, because they can be great. Maybe ask around, see if there's any that other people have worked with that have a good reputation. But I think the deliverables just need to be so set in stone. And also, if we go back to the start of your message, you said, against my better judgment, I took the job at a discounted rate. So you're, again, similar to the first dilemma, setting your... you are setting the standard for how the partnership is going to go. So I almost think if you sort of roll over to people at the start and say, oh, okay, I'll give you a discount, they've already got an impression of you and what you're going to be like to work with. So we live and we learn. I'm intrigued to see the Facetune pictures, not going to lie. Okay, the next one I've been told to saddle up for. Hi, Vicky. I own a small home decor shop. A few weeks ago, a customer brought her 3 brought her 3 toddlers in with no supervision. Within minutes, one of them climbed a shelf and pulled down a ceramic display worth over £600. Honestly, these are the things that put me off having children. I love children. My dream is to be a mum, but no. It shattered. She just shrugged and said, well, maybe don't make your shop so kid unfriendly. Oh my God, I can't deal with this. And then she left. No apology, no offer to pay. I had to install a camera system after that. And I changed my entire store layout. I don't really know what advice you can give me for that, but I just had to share. To be fair, I don't know what advice I can give you for that. Some people are just arseholes. And I mean, I'm actually quite speechless. I find these ones difficult because I don't own a physical shop and I don't know what the procedures are for things like this. What can you do? She's pulled over that much. Then you've not got it videos. I think this might be the first time I'm speechless and don't know what to say. So I'm just hoping someone else might be able to give you advice on that one, and that hopefully the listeners have enjoyed listening to that one. So sorry about that. Okay, next one we've got, hi Vic. I love how you're super open about the reality of owning a business and owning your mistakes. So I thought I'd share one of my huge F-ups. I know I can swear on this podcast, but that feels like a severe swear word to say on here, and I don't want to tarnish anything for my podcast, so I'm going to keep it at F-ups. So I'm a VA, virtual assistant. One of my clients is a hair salon. One of my biggest tasks is scheduling appointments for them. One night, I did what I thought was a minor update. It turns out a single line of bad code deleted 2 weeks worth of client bookings. Chaos. Customers were furious. The salon owner lost several clients over it. We were up for 48 hours straight doing damage control. This was about a year ago and I've just about recovered, but I thought I'd share that we all make big mistakes. I love this. Not love it for you, obviously. It's probably taking you a while to get over this, but we do all make big mistakes. Like, I have sent out an email marketing email to thousands of people and just put hi name, or like I've put the wrong link to things. Like, we all do it. Like, we make the biggest mistakes. It feels horrible. You feel embarrassed. But it's just normal. You learn from it. You live with it. You laugh at it like a little while later. I think the only thing I would say with things like this is clients and customers will gain your respect based on how you deal with the mistake that you've made, and that you own it, that you don't blame it on anyone else or a system that you're working with, and how you recover from it. And one of the best pieces of advice that I would give to people is that retention is everything. So if you've made a mistake, if you've upset a client or a customer, even though sometimes it might feel like you don't see eye to eye on it, or the client's in the wrong, or you're annoyed at them, whatever, put your ego aside. I know it's hard. Put your ego aside and do what you can to retain that client, because another thing I've learned is you just don't know who people know. Like, people are so well connected. It's such a small world. And do what you can to retain the client, whether that's apologizing and offering them 50% off their next month, whether it's doing extra work, going above and beyond for them. You just don't know who people know, and what the effect of this client relationship tarnishing is. Sorry, I've got a hair on me that's sticking to me like glue. That is what I would say. And client retention has been a great exercise for me, because it is easy when someone pisses you off and you're annoyed and you're upset and you want to blame them. But again, like I always say, why is the client upset? Like, it's usually because expectations haven't been met. That can be your fault because you've not explained upfront what the expectations should be. There is times where I think you should just let it go though. And that is when you're being disrespected. You're not being treated in the right way, that is when I think you should just say, look, I think we should just agree to disagree and part ways, because you actually going above and beyond for them isn't really going to do anything for you other than make you go even more insane by working with them. This next question is probably one of my most asked questions, aside from how do I go viral on social media? So many people sent this dilemma in. So I just picked one, and hopefully this is going to answer it for most of you. Hi, Vicky. I'm thinking about hiring my first employee. I feel so overwhelmed. How do you know who's the right person to hire? It feels like such a big commitment, and part of me just wants to hire people that I think I'll get on with, but I know I shouldn't base it on that. Please help a girly out. It is massively overwhelming to hire. Even now, when I'm hiring number 9, I feel overwhelmed. There's just so many CVs that come in. You don't know if it's the right person. It's an expensive mistake if you hire the wrong person. My advice would be, yes, don't hire someone who you think you're going to get on with, because even though it's hard when it's your first employee, you have to spend a lot of time with them. It's actually a bad thing when you hire someone who you think you're going to get on with, because you will get on with them and you'll become friends with them and they'll become harder to manage. So don't think about the person, think about what they can offer you. Like, does their CV seem amazing? Do you seem blown away by them? Because they might have an amazing CV and amazing experience. Then they'll come in to meet you and you'll go, she was a bit quiet, or he wasn't really my vibe. And that's okay. Like, they don't have to be your vibe, and they don't have to be someone that you'll be friends with. My advice, depending on where you're at, would be, if you're thinking about hiring your first employee and you're super nervous about it, you really don't know what decisions to make, trial working with like a freelancer first, because you can have them do a couple hours a week for you. And then there's almost no commitment. So if it doesn't go well, you can just stop using them. They might have like a month notice period or something, but most freelancers, they'll just do the work. If it doesn't work, then they can go and you can learn from there. I would say hiring now, yeah, I don't look at the person. I look at what their expertise is, what they can offer me. Ask them loads of questions. You can get them to do things as a bit of a trial. Like for us, I've asked people before, can they just do like a little, can they design someone's Instagram feed for me so I can see their design skills? Can they make a day in the life TikTok for me so I can see their editing skills? Little tasks like that. Ask them questions as well. What do you think you can bring to the company? What's your career plan? Like, do you see this as a long-term job? Do you see it as a bit of a stepping stone? But also just like take comfort in the fact that you're at the start of your hiring process, and 9 times out of 10, your first hire isn't going to be with you forever. It's just someone that you're going to learn from. And it is a blip. Like, things happen. Things go wrong, you hire the wrong people, you learn from it, you have to fire people, it's horrible, you learn from it. It is a whole journey that you're about to embark on. So I would just say, ask questions, get them to do a bit of a trial. If you're still like really scared about it, hire a freelancer, but you are never going to feel ready. Amazing quote I'm going to recite to you, I can regurgitate quotes all day long, is that the water isn't going to get any warmer the longer you take to jump in. So like, you might think, oh, I'm not ready to hire yet, so I'm going to wait a few months, then I'll be ready, and then I'll be ready. Like, you're never going to be ready. The water is never going to be warm. Like, it's never going to be the right time. You've just got to rip the plaster off and do it. And it's scary. But you're just going to learn from it. I learned so much from my team. I've learned from people who I have hired, people that I've fired. Like, you learn a lesson from every single one. Next one we've got, I need some advice, ! I have a client who is incredibly difficult and they are never happy. I'll send them a content calendar to approve and they won't approve it in time for the post to go out. If they do check the content, they always hate it and there's literally nothing wrong with it. They don't want to show up on camera. They don't know how I write captions. They always ask me to change the whole paragraph, which involves me removing the hook and the call to action. I feel this girl as a social media girly. They work with lots of famous people, but they don't want me to use any photos of the famous people or even reference the famous people. They will ask me to change the caption, change the hook, change the photos, basically change everything about the content. They didn't want to see it again before it gets scheduled and will often not actually approve it in time for it to go live on the day it was planned for. This is actually hell. What would you suggest I do? I'm thinking the money is good, but it's not worth the stress. Okay, so sometimes when we have clients like this and it's feeling like hell and everything's just going up in the water, I will always say simply to schedule in a call. It feels scary, it feels daunting, and you can do a bit of prep before the call. So I would, if I was in your position, say, we need to realign on the offerings, or maybe you feel like things aren't working out at the minute. You'd love to find a way to move forward. You can go back and go over things that are included in the contract. I'm hoping you have a contract in place, by the way, if you don't get them in place. So say, for example, they are not approving the post before literally the date it's due to go out. Have it in your contract where it says you need a 48-hour approval time, and you can just basically go over the contract with them and explain why you need that approval time. And you can actually turn it into a positive, like, I need this approval time to make the best content possible for you. At the minute, I'm rushing it, and that's why, it's not performing well. Get onto a call, realign. If you are in a position where you can let them go, you can just hold the power and say, listen, I don't think it's working, and let them go, because it isn't worth it. But if you are in a position where you're like, like you said, the money's good, it's not worth the stress, you need to take back the power and go over, like you can say, I just wanted to go over the deliverables because I think they're not, there's a bit of confusion about them at the minute. And then also, I like to just say, to remind them that you're both on the same team. Like, you want it to work. I want to win for you. I want this to work for the both of us. But at the minute, that's difficult to do because you're not letting me do X, Y, and Z. That means that we can't get results. Is there anything that we can do to compromise on that? Never make it feel like it's like an attack. I always just, if I'm having difficulties with clients, just think about why they came to me in the first place. What did they want? And how can we align so that it works for both of us? Because usually if you're finding it stressful, they're finding it stressful as well. Calls are the best advice I can give to people. Emails can be taken wrong. WhatsApps can be taken wrong. Face-to-face communication is the best. It's the scariest, but it is the best. Next one we've got is, I run a vegan cafe, and last month we got a 1-star review that totally tanked our local reputation. This person is giving American, because I don't think an English person would say that, so I don't know if I'm supposed to read this in an American accent. Totally tanked. The kicker, that is so giving American. The person had us confused with another restaurant. Oh, I've had this. The post blew up on local foodie groups and business dropped almost overnight. Oh my God, I feel for you. This is awful. I tried reaching out to them, but they never responded. How do you handle false or mistaken reviews that even go viral? And how can you bounce back from reputational hits like this? This is a tricky one. I have actually had this. So if you want to be really nosy, you can go onto our Facebook, on the Socially Speaking Media Facebook, and someone left me a really bad review. And they were saying things like, oh God, I don't know if I'm not going to pull it up because I'm not going to ruin my own day. But they were saying things that like don't even apply to us. They were saying, we worked with Karen and she did blah, 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 blah. And I was like, we don't even have a Karen on the team. Like, they were clearly just confused with another person. And I think then someone else thought the same, and they're like, oh, I know, I worked with them as well, and blah, blah, blah. We don't have, I can't remember the name they used, but we don't have a Karen or a whatever they were speaking about wasn't us. And I replied and I said, I think you got the wrong business. But it's annoying because it affected our reviews. I get it. But I think first thing is the response. People can tell a lot from the response. So if you can reply to it, if it's on Google or Facebook, I would just say like, hi, I think you've got the wrong person. That can simply do it. Because if I was on a business and I saw they had a 1-star review and I saw they replied saying, I think you got, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. It happens. The going viral side is difficult. I would either A, just address it head on and just either do a video or a post and just literally say the situation. We've had this review that I can confirm that is not a restaurant. It's clear they've got mistaken, blah, 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 blah. And then revert back to all the amazing reviews that you've had. Or you can poke a bit of fun at it. So it could be that you make like a bit of a skit video where everyone leaves really bad reviews. You know, like everyone's typing out like, this is the worst place I've ever been for food. And just play into it a bit and just say like, we hear the bad reviews and guess what? It's not us. You're not going to get that service here. I would either one of those two to sort of like poke fun at it or address it head on. But it is hard. And even though you haven't actually received a bad review, like this is about the wrong place, I would take comfort in the fact that there is no business in the world, I would say that's bigger, might be different for smaller businesses, that has got 100% 5-star reviews. There's literally none. And I think I've spoken about this in a previous episode, but I saw this girl did an amazing post about the wonders of the world. So there was like the Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty, pyramids. Is the Statue of Liberty one? Don't know. And if you go on the reviews, people are like, so boring, like really let me down, wasn't what I expected. And they're literally talking about the Eiffel Tower. Who can hate the Eiffel Tower? So I would say the biggie business gets, you are going to get negative reviews and you're going to get people that disagree and might even take it public. I, touching all the wood, haven't had that happen yet. I think if that was me in that position, depends how big it gets. If someone was to make a video about me saying I worked with Vicky, she was awful, blah, 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 and it just got, you know, a couple people saw it, is what it is. Like, you don't want to address everything. If it went viral, then I think that's when you go on, you can explain your side to the story. But I've often found that sometimes bringing attention to things brings more light to it. And it feels a lot bigger to you than it is to everyone else. So like prime example of this is when I had my blip on social media, like I got cancelled on social media. And I basically just had people making videos about me. I've done a whole episode on this if you want to listen to it, but it was really, really scary. There's a lot of false accusations going around. It terrified me. And I made a video about it, addressing it. And I was just like, I got cancelled. This is what happened. This is the real story. This is how I felt. It did really well. And there was not one negative comment on it. And most of the comments were like, oh, I didn't even know this happened. And even now in real life, people will be like, I wouldn't have known that happened if you didn't bring it up, which is actually really annoying. So yeah, a lot of the time it's just a lot bigger in your head than it is in real life. But I would say address it. Like, people understand. It would be a different story if you actually had a bad review and you'd done something really bad, but it's literally not even about you. Okay, next one we've got is, hi, I've been a nail tech for 5 years and I love my clients, but I've got one who's become a bit of a problem. She's been coming to me for a while and lately she forgets to pay almost every time. She'll say things like, oh no, I left my card at home, or can I just transfer you later? Sometimes it takes her days to send it and I always have to follow up. It's getting really awkward. I don't want to lose her as a client, but I also can't keep chasing payments like this. How do I set boundaries without making it weird or damaging the relationship? Oh my gosh, so many people ask me this question. So I would say for things like this, make it again. Wait, was this my last episode? One of my last episodes, I was saying people aren't paying you because you are allowing them not to pay you. You're giving them an opportunity not to pay you. So if I was in your position as a nail tech, what I would do is create something so that you can't get the service if you haven't paid for it, and it doesn't make it awkward. So I would set up a booking system, which you can do really easily. You can use Calendly is the one that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more, but I would use Calendly. That has your diary on it. People can select the time they want to get their nails done. They can book it in and you can add a payment link. If I was a customer, I would have absolutely no problem doing that. And you could send a message to all your clients and just say, hi. You could even say, due to some late payments, I'm implementing this new booking system. Or you can just say, I'm implementing this booking system. You don't have to give a reason. And then done. Like, you don't need to have an awkward chat. It's paid before. Bing, bang, bong. Easy peasy. I literally think that is the best solution, because then you don't have to have the chat and it doesn't have to get awkward. I fear that's good advice I've just given you there. So hopefully that works. Okay, so we've got another one that is similar to my hiring dilemma. Hey, lovely. I hope you're well. I was just wondering if you had any advice on hiring, as I'm really struggling at the moment. I just seem to keep getting it wrong. So this is from someone that has hired before. I either get completely blindsided and they end up with not as much experience as they originally said, or they just F everything up. I'm currently looking for a PA or a social media assistant to help take the workload off myself. But with 2 failures previously, I'm really starting to lose heart. Sorry for ranting on. You just seem like you have built an incredible team. And if you have any tips or anything, it would be so appreciated. So if you've hired before and had problems, I would look back on what... Oh, my stomach's rumbling. Can we hear that? Let's hope not. It is literally 11:46 and I want my lunch already. Sums me up. So if you've hired before and things have gone wrong, it's so easy, trust me, I know because I've been here, to blame the person. Try and think what you did. So did you make it super, super clear on what the expectations are? Was everything clear to them when they joined? Did you do enough research on them? When I spoke to Lucy from 6 Stories recently, she gave me an amazing piece of advice and said, when you are letting someone go and they are aware of it and they see it coming, you've done your job as a good manager. When they are not aware of it coming, you have done a poor job as a manager, because it shouldn't be out of the blue. So think about what you've done and what you could do differently moving forward. So one of my first members of staff, I remember I would complain. She'd be late for things. I'd get irritated. I was like, oh, why does this keep happening? And you blame it on them. Like you do, because you're annoyed and you're irritated and you're spending a lot of money on this person. What I could have done differently is set expectations with her at the start and made it really clear, obviously it's clear what time you need to show up at work, but speak about why it's important they show up on time and what would happen if they didn't show up on time. So I would say, don't be scared of it. Like, you're obviously in a position where you need to hire to scale, but just think about what you can do better the next time you hire. And my best advice, just make everything like black and white clear, almost to the point where you feel like you're over explaining. Like, tell them, like when I have people join now, what should they be wearing? What time should they get here? How long they can take for their lunch? How long their work should take? Don't go on phone calls in the office. Like, things that you think everyone should know. Literally assume people know nothing. In terms of the experience thing, like I said on the past dilemma, get people to do a little bit of work up front. And you can even pay people for it, because I feel bad for making people work for free. So it can even be that you say, can I just pay you, I don't know, £100, £50, whatever it is, to spend an hour or so just putting together a mock-up Instagram feed for me, or whatever that might be. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you can do probation with people. So you can have someone on a 3-month probation. You could probably almost have someone on a 1-month probation if you wanted to. I always do 3, but I guess you could do 1. And just say, I've been burnt in the past by people that have said this. So I just want to get this month out the way. And then if it doesn't work, you could have a clause that you don't have to give them notice. Obviously speak to them about it. People might want notice. But I would do that just so they also know they're on their probation. So we have, when staff join now, they have a 3-month probation. They're aware they're on a 3-month probation, so that if that 3 months doesn't go well, I think it depends on the person, but you can give them a week's notice, you can give them a month's notice. But just so they're aware that they know they're being monitored for that 3 months and that they're not just going to be here for the foreseeable. But I know that it can massively knock your confidence. And it's also extremely exhausting, having to manage people, choosing who the right person is to hire. So just look at your systems and processes, make sure everything is super, super, super clear. And I would also say use it as a fresh start. Like when I was first hiring, like I've said before, I wanted to be friends with them. I wanted to get on with them. I wanted them to think I was the best boss ever. Now when people start, I'm going to be honest, I kind of keep my distance now. Like I go and sit in my office. Obviously I check on with them. Obviously I speak to them. Obviously I'm friendly with them, but I'm not like their best friend, like, because that makes it harder to deliver feedback to them. And not that I think at all that people should be scared of their boss, but there should be those boundaries in place, you know, like they shouldn't feel like they can just behave how they want, or they can just like mosey on in and 20 minutes late to work. Like really establish who you want to be as a boss. Use this time that you've got where you're in between hiring to think about how you want to show up at work, how you want to manage, what your expectations are, you know, for the team, for yourself, for the workplace. And also I would say, because you've said at the end there, like you seem to have built up an incredible team. Like team is really, really, really hard. And I love my team so much, but there are some days where it's difficult. There are some days where maybe people might not get on. There are some days where you got to have awkward conversations. And again, it just feeds into the fact that you don't see everything on social media. I'm not going to put on social media that I'm having a really awkward chat with someone today, that their attitude's bad or they're showing up late. Like I'm not going to show that because that would be extremely unprofessional. I would say I'm very lucky at the minute, touch wood, that everything's great. Like they're very hardworking. I get on with them all. I think they're all amazing people, but you know, issues arise, things come up. I have learned so much to get to this point. And no team is perfect. There's always going to be disagreements, people that are closer than others. You're basically living with them, especially if you're working in-house. Like my team mainly works in the office every day. There's like the occasional days where they might want to work from home. But you are essentially living with these people. Like I see them more than my family. Like we are together Monday to Friday, 8 hours every single day. Like it's intense. Like it is hard to find people that you get on with, that you respect, that are good at the job. So that was a very rambly answer. But yeah, I would just say use this time to really have a think about what you want, what your expectations are. Stop comparing yourself to other people and their team. Like there's some people that I used to look at and they're like, oh my God, they have an amazing team. They look like they're all family. Like you don't know the real side of owning a team. It is hard work. I'm still learning about it. So those are some of the dilemmas that I picked out. I wish I could read them all, but I would be here for many more hours. And although I'm sure, hopefully you enjoy listening to me, I don't think anyone wants to sit here for that long. So I really want to make this a recurring episodes that I do. I just think they're so fun to do. I love that you feel like you can come to me with dilemmas. I hope that it helps. So keep sending me them. I'm going to try and do one, I think, like once a month. But yeah, I just love it. I love answering them. I love helping how I can. Doesn't really feel like I give that much good advice. Who knows? But that's all from me today. Have a lovely, wonderful day. Stop comparing yourself to everyone online because it's fake. No one knows what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. And yeah, I will speak to you next time on Business Class.